Peace, peace, my peaceful people. Alright, so we are back for our next installment of Into the I Ching. Alright, so I'm a little bit on my pause today, just because the thoughts are coming to me, right? That tells me that I should explain my thing here, what I'm doing, right? So, yeah, and kind of the readings kind of tell me this as well, right? So so I see that my person is not quite getting a lot of support from a lot of my former associates, a lot of my former community members and things like that. You know what I mean? People don't want to check out the brother, don't want to say what's up, you know what I mean, and all of that stuff, right? So all right, so I thought I should come on here and explain a little bit. So, my person has a Sebek, I'm in Sebek IO, and Hexagram 16, right? So, my life is about communicating God's messages. I never called myself Tehuti. Okay, I know. I always explain to y'all that Tehuti is one who is the mouthpiece of God, whom I am a disciple of. Right. So that is my connection. My connection to Tehuti is the humble disciple. Okay, so I bring you the good news that was brought to me. And, so that's what my life is about. My life is about, with that 16th hexagram, my life is about spreading that, right? I come here to spread, these things that I know, some aspect of my karma has me in a position to be a student and teacher of, an ancient knowledge that not a lot of people are aware of now. You know what I mean? And I try a lot to give honor to, my teacher, Nefer, you know what I mean? Who, this is the book that we read from, But, I come to understand that there is hesitance in, not only him, but, the people who follow him, with what I'm doing. And, nobody stepped to me, so aside from a long time ago when, I had a communication with the man himself and, everything wasn't, proper, right? So I started a channel and I subsequently took that channel down because, it was, I didn't take the channel down, but I took the videos down because it was expressed to me that they were, not, there was not favor for them in what I was doing at that time. And, so I stepped away from it. I walked right away from it. And in that time that I walked away, my Shepsu bashed me over the head many day, okay, many a year, right? Because it was maybe, I don't know, it was like 2014, I brought back the channel in 2021. So that was about 7 years that I stepped away from my IO, okay? And, when I went, as I'm getting beat up with these thoughts, I go to the oracle and I say, should I bring it back? And it's Tehuti Hetep. Well, Tehuti Tuma'at was what I received for creating it in the first place. So this was something that God wanted to happen, according to my interpretation of the readings. God is telling me, that this is knowledge that people need to have. You know what I mean? And, I got people in the background that are doing things and, messing with the numbers, and I got, whatever the case. But yeah, it comes to me that I should talk about this here because, yeah, I just noticed the, ain't no love, where the love? where the love at? You know what I'm saying? Not so much where the love at, but now I'm reading from Shekham's lectures, and one thing I notice is that there are many people who are reading from Shekham's materials, who never had any real association with the society. People just see them a good book and they're reading from it. So this is one thing that was revealed to me, in my spiritual questings about this. It was that this information on the tree of life is no one man's information. This is not something that is can be spiritually lawfully copyrighted, right? It's not about copyrighting the tree of life, right? Tree of life came before all of us presently on this planet, so what I'm doing, as a matter of fact, is I'm tuning people into that body of knowledge. For people to be mad at me is really, really interesting, because all I'm doing is turning people over to Shechem. You know what I mean? Now we're talking about a different realm of, involvement. When you start getting mad at me because I'm dealing with this material here, that is the world's material. Hey, if I'm incorrect, please, somebody let me know if I'm not correct about where I'm coming with this. I'm a humble individual, I'm not somebody who is beside himself with this stuff, right? But, come correct, because I'm armed with, my communications with God on this matter, right? I'm armed with my incarnation objective, my understanding of it. And, I feel as though I'm doing the right thing. If I'm doing the wrong thing, somebody let me know. Let me know if I'm doing the wrong thing, But like I said, I existed within, the priesthood of Asar Set, and I'm initiated, into the Pa'al Neteru, I step away from the place, but the place don't step away from me, in terms of, the deities are always with me, you know what I mean? They're always in my head. They communicate with me through life, and, so that's why in those 7 years, I could not get away from it. That's why I returned to it, you know what I mean? And, it may appear that I stepped on some toes. I'm full of respect, you know what I mean? All I do is respect. I just would hope that people could see it a different way. I believe I'm correct on these matters. You know what I mean? And nobody has stepped to me to tell me anything. So, there's a lot of things going on in the background that nobody has stepped to me to tell me about. People have sanctioned things that aren't too savory, but, at the same time, people haven't sanctioned something that I think is pretty good. You know what I mean? Something that I think that I've experienced that is helping people. You know what I mean? I get emails from people, commentary from people who are telling me that, they appreciate the fact that I went out on a limb here and I'm doing this. I'm providing these things to people. I'm using my time and my life force, my energy, my space. I'm taking up space from the things that I'm doing for my life, right, to help, right? And, it's not like I'm working for a whole lot of money at this point. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see what the views are. You know what I'm saying? I got more videos than I got subscribers. So, and, that's all a part of it. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this for them. I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing this for me. You know what I mean? So this is what I'm doing. If somebody has a problem with what I'm doing, please let me know. Let me know, we can, like we say, we can go to the oracles on this, we can go to God on this, because, the way I see it, this is not any particular individual's information. And if that's the case, then that just doesn't speak well for this stuff at all, Yeah, because I thought this was for the world. I thought this was for, at heart in my mission on this thing, from the door, I always wanted people to be conversant on the terms of the deities and the hexagrams. You know what I mean? I wanted such that I can have more conversations about how we see God working in our lives out here with people who are not just Asar set people. So I bring it out here to people who are not just Asar set people. You know what I mean? I took action. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's Haruka of me. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I know I got Tehuti too. I got Tehuti Hetep. You know what I mean? I would think that look, the car comes on as I say that. So I think I'm in accord with, Nefer on that one. You know what I'm saying? But, and I'm not, if I don't, ultimately, it's not about, vying for likes. Y'all see, I hardly ask for likes. I ask for likes because that's what you have to do. You know what I mean? I understand that now. You know what I mean? But it's actually hard for me to be like, please like me. That's something that my person is not used to. I've never been the type to really care about if you like me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to be me. You know what I mean? I'm going to be authentic. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what's important in life, is to be who you came to be. You know what I mean? And, if the people like it, then they like it. It's all good. But, yeah, I thought I should say that because, in the thoughts that I'm getting and in the readings that I'm getting about what I'm doing here, it's almost like, I get the reading that, I get the mentality that, well, maybe I should, not be reading from Shekham's book. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe, so I'm putting this forth to, anybody out there, right? Who, I know y'all see my videos, you know what I mean? If you don't see it, you get it to this person who sees it, you know what I mean? Whatever. I'm just saying, if y'all think that I'm doing something wrong, let me know. You know what I'm saying? I am not, an unapproachable person. Y'all know how to get in touch with me. If I'm doing something wrong in your eyes, let me know. And we can talk about it. We can go to Tehuti on it. You know what I mean? And if it is, the thing that I should take these down, I should take this, stuff that I'm doing and stop doing it, right? With my IO being what it is and all of that stuff. If none of that is really valid or whatever, then, that is what I'll do. You know what I mean? I can humble myself. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I got other things to do, actually. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so I said that. That's what I came to say first. So let's get into what we're doing here. We are talking about the I Ching, right? We are reading from a very enlightening text, body of information on the I Ching, right? This is the Harlem River Arrangement, an I Ching, a series of lectures given on the I Ching long time ago by Shekhem Raun Nefer, right? Many people know it from the Meduna Chair, right? The Meduna series, right? And, and many other works as well, that are highly spiritual, spiritually enlightening tools. So, we're reading from this, right? Such that people can have further understanding when they do their I Ching readings, right? I always go back to, what the Yi said about this information being presented to the people in the West, right? In, the I Ching Book of Changes, Carl Jung gives the reading that was done on the I Ching, or, saying, or asking the I Ching, how does it feel? What is its vision, right, about this stuff being presented to the West? Because at that time it was, like, I guess he was probably the first, or, among a small minority of people who understood any of this stuff. So, and the I Ching gave a reading. It was the 50th hexagram, with the third line, speaking about how people's ears won't hear it at first, how, their people's ears aren't able to hear it because we in the West are oriented in a different way, not so much a spiritual way. Like, the spirituality of the West has been religiosity for the most part. And religiosity does not open itself up to ancient wisdom, only the Bible, and if you're dealing with the Quran, only the Quran. But then you have Sikhs, right? You have, a sect of Islam that, goes deeper into, matters of life. And, so that's good stuff. But, primarily in the West, right? And Islam is not the West, right? So primarily in the West, we haven't been able to really be open to these deep spiritual conversations, right? And that's what the I Ching was saying. I Ching was saying that, in the beginning, people aren't going to be able to hear this stuff because that's not the way they're oriented. People are, the handles of the Ting are altered, meaning that the grasping of the matters that we're discussing are not there, right? So, I do this work to help the I Ching, right? Because the resultant hexagram is the 35, right? Which is progress, So, yeah, I want to see that part of the hexagram manifest. I want to see the progress portion of that I Ching reading done that's in the Book of Changes. Y'all get the book, it's one of the most popular I Ching interpretations, right? I Ching Book of Changes, right? This book here, that one there, right? Yeah, in which, the oracle speaks about, being presented. So I came here to present this thing, to help it kind of get out, right? Help it, be something that we can, I first got the thought about writing an I Ching book. Actually, I wrote my I Ching book back in 2014. And I remember when I was doing research about it, there was no YouTube videos. I mean, I might have found, one YouTube video about I Ching on YouTube. Right back then, you know what I mean? So it was like, yeah, I see, I totally see this hexagram. I mean, I totally see what the hexagram is talking about in terms of people being able to grasp this stuff and dealing with this information. But now I see that there's a lot more, there's a lot more. There's plenty of people doing I Ching stuff now on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. I see that 35, that 35th hexagram is coming into play. There is progress. And I believe tomorrow, right, in the next 10 years, we should see even more people doing more stuff with the I Ching. More people learning and doing readings, conversing about these matters. You know what I mean? And this is what I'm talking about. This is the only reason I stepped to this thing, is such that we could be more conversant as a whole, right? Going outside of, my base is Kemet, right? I'll always be a Kemetic, universal spiritualist, right? But, in that, we understand that, all of this stuff has an origin. All of this stuff is related to, God, all right? So, it's valid to me. Not only that, but I got Chinese ancestors. I do. You know what I mean? I pour libation to certain Chinese ancestors. So, they on me, they with me, you know what I mean? And, we going through it, man. We dealing with it. You know what I mean? So, so that's what I'm doing here. All right. All that being said, I'm going to throw my old man's on and we're going to get busy. All right. We are at hexagram 6, which is the hexagram of conflict. Where Harukahuti, Tema'at, Sebek, Tuchas for the week as a collective. Conflict is on the table. All right, so let's talk about conflict. All right, so, yeah. Shechem breaks it down. All right. Reading from the book. No? I believe that's just indented, right? Yeah, this is him talking. The 6th hexagram, conflict. The 6th hexagram is conflict. So remember, this is someone talking, right? We're reading out we've written out someone's spoken words, okay? And this is the hexagram of conflict, and there are different formulas for how conflict is generated. Okay, the second sentence, page 28 in the Wilhelm book, that's the book I just showed, right? Two halves move away from each other, giving rise to the idea of conflict. Back to Shechem talking. Pay little attention to things like that, because if you try and make a general rule out of such things, you're getting yourself into a lot of trouble. The I Ching does not lend itself to those types or those kinds of generalizations. Back to the text. The attribute of the creative is strength, that of the abysmal, danger, guile. The abysmal is the bottom hexagram of the bottom trigram of the hexagram conflict. Okay, so that's Chien on the top and Khan, the abysmal, on the bottom. All right, so he's going to go in. Pay a little attention to that. Okay, the attribute of creative is strength. That of the abysmal is danger, guile. Where cunning has force before it, there is conflict. Back to Shechem. Outwardly, this person is strong, and inside, this person is ignorant. One of the causes of conflicts is a person who is acting with cunning and trying to force things. All right, back to the text. A third indication of conflict in terms of character is presented by the combination of deep cunning within and fixed determination outwardly. A person of this character will certainly be quarrelsome. The judgment. You are sincere and you are being obstructed. Okay? Back to Shechem. Here's another type of conflict, meaning that you are sincere in the sense that you believe you are correct. You honestly believe that you are correct, but you may not be. But the thing is that somebody is opposing your ideas. We have different ideas of how conflict comes about. In some places, it is sincerity that's being obstructed. In other places, it is cunning and ignorance at work. Back to the text. A cautious halt halfway brings good fortune. Back to Shechem. When you get this hexagram, whatever it is that you are disputing with the other person, stopping halfway is the correct way to deal with the situation. When you get this hexagram, do not try to press the matter to victory, because the kind of forces that you are dealing with, victory, meaning winning the debate or the war or whatever, there will not be victory. Back to the text. It furthers one to see the great man. Back to Shechem. You need to see a wise third party or arbiter in the matter. Back to the text. Conflict develops. One feels himself to be in the right and runs into opposition. Back to Shechem. Here the author forgets what he said earlier, because there are different ways of causing conflict. Guile and stubbornness, etc. Back to the text. If a man is entangled in a conflict, his only salvation lies in being so clear-headed and inwardly strong that he's always ready to come to terms by meeting the opponent halfway. Let's go to that. Let's read that again. If a man is entangled in a conflict, his only salvation lies in being so clear-headed that and inwardly strong that he is always ready to come to terms by meeting the opponent halfway. All right, back to Shechem. Let me explain it to you. Only with this hexagram, or hexagrams that give similar messages, do you meet the opponent halfway. Because in the 63rd hexagram, you are told that it furthers one to discipline the rebel's country. All right? In other words, take that belt and smack. All right. Let me explain. Oh, yeah, no, we did that. Okay, in which case the oracles is saying to you to go ahead and prosecute, right? Meaning 60 meaning the devil's, meaning the smack, that's prosecute. You have to understand, one kills 3 divining foxes, etc. You have to understand what an oracle is. An oracle is a system that places an idea in a particular point and place in space and time. When you get this hexagram, the oracle is saying, in this situation, you ought not to prosecute the conflict to the bitter end. Not necessarily because you are wrong or right, but because this is a nature of the energy. Right? Because in other hexagrams, you will tell... in other hexagrams, you will tell you to go ahead and prosecute to the bitter end, such as the 21st hexagram on the proper line. Back to the text. It's important to see the great man, that is, an impartial man whose authority is great enough to terminate the conflict amicably or assure a just decision. Okay, back to Shechem. This is what is needed in this situation. We need a friendly ending of the situation, or at least a just ending of the conflict. Back to the text. The image of conflict. This is the image. Right? The image of conflict. Thus, in all his transactions, the superior man carefully considers the beginning. If right and duties is ... So I'm thinking there's some things in between, but okay. If rights and duties are exactly defined, or if in a group the spiritual needs of the spiritual trends of the individuals harmonize, the cause of the conflict is removed in advance. Pardon. Back to Shechem. Here the oracles is saying that basically there is a conflict because you did not begin at the beginning, meaning that proper rights, the duties, the roles, people's places are not defined at the very outset. That is the real cause of the conflict, or the spiritual condition of the people involved was not properly assessed from the beginning. For example, we will find out if this man is of the earthly temperament. Therefore, we will not give him a job that requires a hot and moist nature. This man has to keep going hot and dry. So we will not give him a desk job. A conflict is bound to develop if you do not take into consideration those inner forces operating within people to make sure that they are properly suited for what they are supposed to do. That is why we need to go to see the great man, a man who is possessed of the knowledge of where things begin to function, the causes of things. Okay? Yeah. Meaning, you're hiring people, should be looking at people's charts, understanding where they're good, what gifts they have, what they'll be best suited for in your organization, etc., etc. All right, to the lines. First line. If one does not perpetuate the affair, there is little gossip. In the end, good fortune comes. Back to Shechem. When you get this line, it is telling you that the correct way to handle this situation is to drop it from the beginning. Back to the text. Especially when the adversary is stronger. It is not advisable to risk pushing the conflict to a decision. It may come to a slight dispute, but in the end, it all goes well. Back to Shechem. The adversity being stronger could mean many things. It could mean that the person might be right, or more cunning, or whatever. You may have to go to the oracle to find out why the adversary is stronger. Right? So, yeah, this could be that the person is a bully. Could be the person is bullying you. You don't have the strength to come back. Something like that. Could be. What I'm saying is that you'll get this line for various situations, and it's just something saying that your strength is less than what the others is in this circumstance, right? Yeah. Okay. Second line. One cannot engage in conflict. One returns home. Gives way. Right? The people of his town, 300 households remain free of guilt. Okay. Back to Shechem. When you get this line, you are dead wrong. Right. Let's say you ask the oracle to comment on my conduct in this situation. You get this line, the oracle is saying 300 households remain free of guilt. You are dead wrong and cannot engage in conflict. All right. This is why I love the I Ching. All right. You know what I'm saying? The I Ching is not always going to be smelling roses on you. All right. Sometimes the I Ching is going to make you look in the mirror. You know, this is what it's. This is why it's a spiritual development tool. You know what I mean? You use oracles. You go to the oracles on yourself. You know what I mean? The oracle is not just for, oh, what's this person doing? Oh, what this thing over here? Oh, how I get this here, you know, thing that I want, right? No, it's what's going on with me? Am I doing the right thing? Did I do the right thing over there? You know what I'm saying? Last time when I was dealing with that person and we got into, was I correct or incorrect in that situation? How many can be humble enough to ask Tehuti to comment on their conduct? That's part of it in this world, man. That's part of why we have a life. You know what I mean? We have a life because we're beset with certain things that we get from our astrology, from our growing up, right? Life turns you into a narcissist, this and that, this and that. You have to always be able to be humble enough to go back and ask God about you. You know what I'm saying? If you're not, you're wrong. You know what I mean? You're not doing the right thing if you can't ask God about you. All right. Back to the text. Nope. Let's see. You get this slide in the Oracle saying 300 households remain guilt. You are dead wrong and cannot engage in conflict. Meaning keep your mouth shut and take your medicine. Back to the text. Timely withdrawal prevents bad consequences. If out of a false sense of honor, a man allowed himself to be tempted into an unequal conflict, he will be drawing down a disaster upon himself. This is because, back to Hexagram, this is because this person is wrong at this point, and it is the force of truth that is behind the opponent. That catastrophe might come indirectly. Wow, I just started something. That catastrophe might come indirectly. Like, you know, someone steals something from somebody else, and then, you know, their situation fizzles out. Something like that. All right, I'm going to try to shut up, y'all. I've been meditating with Sebek, so y'all got to remind me. Okay, the catastrophe might come indirectly. A year later, you might have the power to Harukahuti the situation right then and there. But in the long run, you will bring the house down upon yourself because here the force of truth is against you because you are dead wrong. But instead of the ye saying that you are dead wrong, forget it, it says 300 households remain free of guilt. So that's a lot of people miss the meaning of this. So lots of people miss the meaning of this. So yeah, ultimately he's trying to practicalize the text, making the text such that we can understand it and I can actually receive the food that's there. So that requires interpretation of its poetry and things like that. All right, someone asks a question. Does this refer to the person you are inquiring about? Answer. It depends on how you focus the question. Whoever is being signified by the line, If you are asking about your own conduct, you are dead wrong. If you are asking about the other person's conduct, then the other person is dead wrong. How to inquire the oracle, I leave to the I Ching classes. I'm not getting into the technicalities of asking questions to the oracles, but you must keep in mind that whenever you ask the I Ching or any oracle a question, do not be ambiguous. For example, you want to find out if I was wrong or she was wrong. Don't ask the oracle to comment on the conflict between the woman and my person, because then you don't know who the oracle is speaking about unless our roles are clearly defined, such as teacher and student, and the oracle specifically states that. If I'm the sage and she's the student, and she gets the 17th hexagram top line stress, then we know who is right, who is who right away, right? Top line being the line of the sage in I Ching structure. All right. This is important because I've heard people say that they are the sage when they get such line stress. Whenever the oracle speaks about the sage, the oracle is holding up to you a model of how you ought to be. Don't forget that many people do not understand that. Don't forget that. Many people do not understand that. Second. Oftentimes you ask the oracles a question and the oracle answers you in terms of the model of the situation, in terms of the model of how the situation ought to be handled. This is the way of a kingly sage will handle the situation. All right, third line. To nourish oneself on ancient virtue induces perseverance, danger. In the end, good fortune comes. If by chance you are in service of a king, seek not works. This is a warning of the danger that goes with an expansive disposition. Only that which has been honestly acquired through merit remains a permanent possession. It can happen that such a possession may be contested, but since it is really one's own, one cannot be robbed of it. Back to Shechem. This line, both Wilhelm and Chuan Sherrill do not do justice that needs to be done to it. Go to Chuan Sherrill. All right, so now he's going to the Astrology of the I Ching by Chuan Sherrill. Nourishing oneself on tried and true methods. The third line is the lower position of man, and this is and in this hexagram, the symbolism is predominantly indicative of character building. This man has found something great of value to him personally, and he tries to make a complete conversion at once. He is not successful because the old weeds have not been fully eradicated, but through persistence he will achieve his goal in the end. In such circumstances, while undergoing change, it is best to keep in the background, even though there may be external pressure for advancement. Back to Shechem. Chuan Sherrill missed the boat here. So make a note that this third line missed the boat on the sixth hexagram. Pardon. Wilhelm hits close to the truth here. And it looks like he parenthesizes. He says, quotation marks. It can happen that such a possession may be contested, but since it is really one's own, one cannot be robbed of it. Whatever a man possesses through his strength of his own nature cannot be lost. Back to Shechem. In this case, you have gotten something and it is being contested, directly or indirectly. Oftentimes, you might look at a situation and say, nobody is really contesting something from me. For example, you are in a relationship with someone, you are having problems with your mate, and you get this line. The arguments that you are having with your mate is not something that is being contested. You are having arguments over everything that comes up. So who is contesting the relationship? The deities are. Why? Because you probably got into the relationship the wrong way, through sweet, meaningless words and that kind of stuff. So naturally, then things run into conflict, and the deities are now the ones contesting it. This is real life right here, folks, because, if you're not in like a spiritual, society, you're just out here in the world, this is how folks out here create relationships, you know what I mean? Oh baby, you look so this and so that, right? I wish I had somebody like you 10 years ago, whatever the case, we start talking game and BS, and then you get somebody all googly over you, right? That's already a word. And then y'all form a relationship, right? But, there's no readings on the table, you know what I mean? Perhaps if you did a reading on the table, it might not be, or it could be that y'all should be together. But what's going to happen if y'all shouldn't be is that life is going to contest it, right? I was in a relationship where, every time me and this individual went to the beach, right? If you understand anything about offset, then you know offset is the beach, right? You know, offset is the beach, period, right? And we had an offset in a relationship, meaning that, you know, offset should have been the ideals on this relationship. But every time we would go to the beach, it would rain cats and dogs. And then the minute we would leave, the sun would come back out. That happened to us on 3 separate occasions, okay? Through the course, we went to the beach. Here comes the rain. Everything, you know, pours down, right? And then on our way out, like, all right, it ain't happening today. Let's go. The sun would come back out. So, I mean, you know, so yeah, man, you know, and this was also the same relationship had a Tehuti tem, right? Meaning, you know, Tehuti negative, right? So Tehuti was saying that this wasn't something to do, but we chose to continue to speak good words to each other, you know, googly words and whatnot. You know what I mean? And we got wrapped up, you know what I mean? We had a problem stepping away, even though life was saying, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is real, you know what I mean? You know, when the deities contest it, you know, you got to be able to listen. Or else, you know, there's tears. It's going to be tears, you know what I'm saying? All right. Back to Shechem. That third line is conflict because ownership of something is being contested. And actually, the oracle is throwing back the question to you. If it is yours, you can't lose it. Do you know what is yours? Do you know that it is yours? You should get that answer. If you know that you got it through surreptitious means, then you know that you are going to lose it. If you know that you got it honestly, then you are going to keep it. That is what the oracle is saying here. If this line, the oracle throws the ball, in this line, the oracle throws back the ball in your court. All right. Question. Is this a question of ulterior motives? Answer. Yes. At that point, when it is being contested, having received something in the wrong way, it could even involve having stolen something. Okay, so when there's ulterior motives, this line is something that could come up, right? Because it is something that life is going to be contesting. All right, so line 4. One cannot engage in conflict. One turns back, submits to fate, changes one's attitude, and finds peace at first lacks peace. Attitude at first lacks peace. Oh, okay. Pardon me. Let me run that back. This refers to a person whose inner attitude at first lacks peace. He does not feel content with the situation and would like to improve it through conflict. Back to Shechem. This is very important. How many times have you been dissatisfied and then you want to improve it, so you create a conflict. You start slapping each other to improve the situation. People say that this is just trying to get your attention. You start arguments, you fuss, you mope around, etc. This is what is happening here. The oracle is saying, give this up. That is childish. To contend before him, back to the text, line 5. So that's all he says about line 4. You know what I mean? This is basically, you know, the text is clear. One cannot engage in conflict, turns back, submits to one's fate, right? Accepts things as they are, right? And if they can, you know, find peace in perseverance, you know, if they can persevere in peace, you know what I mean? Persevere in being peaceful in this circumstance, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go line 5. Line 5. Back to the text. To contend before him brings supreme fortune. Back to Shechem. Here we are coming to the oracles or to a sage. When you get this line, the oracle is saying that there is something that you there's something that you can go to and must go to resolve your conflict. People usually get this line are people who have not arrived at the knowledge in life that conflicts that conflicts must be taken to an arbiter. All right? Because in the Western world, you've been brought up believing in the right to your own opinion. That is one of the biggest things wrong in Western culture. You have been brought up believing in that. Right? Here the oracle says to contend before him. Who? The oracles or the sage or both. Take the matter to a party to resolve the difficulty. Chu and Sherelle here sort of botch it up. It says just simply a wise person to go to, but offers no qualification to who is a wise or who this wise person might be. In this case, the oracle's itself. The oracle defines who is a sage. The sage is the one whose counseling and teaching and guidance is in harmony with that of the oracles. Let me run that back because I'm botching it up here. I'm like, sometimes what happens when I be reading is I be thinking, and I just need to read and stop thinking. All right, so let me run that back. The oracle defines who the sage is. The sage is one whose counseling and teaching and guidance is in harmony with the oracles. Bam. Very simple. All right. Line 6. Wilhelm. If by chance a leather belt is bestowed on one, by the end of the morning it will have been snatched away 3 times. Back to Shechem. The leather belt is what is being used to chastise somebody. If by chance you have succeeded in taking your conflict to the bitter end and have won the argument, that belt will be taken away from you by the end of the day, meaning that you will get caught up in endless conflict until the whole matter disintegrates. The parameter of this particular hexagram is that when there is a conflict and you get this hexagram, don't take the matter to the bitter end. A reconciliation, a meeting halfway of some sort, friendship of some sort, period. Friendship and justice is more important than being right. That's what the oracle is saying in this particular hexagram. Somewhere else, the oracle will be saying to you that truth must prevail at all costs. You have to know when to force an idea and when not to. This is what is wrong with Western and other cultures that follow scriptures. It is true what they are saying, but that truth does not apply at all times and at all places. Because for a particular idea to carry a particular moment, it requires the aid of the deities, ancestors, the person, head, being right, etc. Okay? All of these things is what the oracles is looking at and telling you that yes, you are right, but it is not important to come out right at this time. Because you are not living for that moment. You are living beyond that moment. At this particular moment, friendship is more important. I will prepare a field for tomorrow. In time, your light will shine, right? I will prepare the field for tomorrow. In time, your light will shine. This is what the oracle is saying. You get uptight if you cannot prove that you are right now. It is like the world will come to an end. You have to understand that life lives beyond the moment. It is not important to prove that you are right now. There is tomorrow. There is another incarnation. Who are you? Are you not the eternal being? So you have to learn to wait. Waiting is the sign of divinity. The ability to wait, to be patient, is a sign of divinity. Do you know how long God is waiting for you guys to grow up? Do you know how long God has been waiting? Lord knows how long he has been waiting. Question. Is going to the sage at the 5th line considered as carrying the conflict to the bitter end? Answer. No. Because the sage is going to sit down and analyze the situation and determine what is more important in this particular case, friendship or justice. The sage might say, well, what is happening here is that the person is ill. 10 years of smoking marijuana and this fell in the bathroom and hit his head 2 years ago. Or you go to the oracles again, but that is the whole point. If you are receptive to the oracles, then you can, let me read that back. All right, I'll read that back. So, the question was about is going to the sage at the 5th line considered carrying the conflict to the bitter end? Answer: no, because the sage is going to sit down and analyze the situation and determine what is more important in a particular case, friendship or justice. The sage might say, well, what is happening here is that the person is ill, 10 years of smoking marijuana, and this one fell in the bathroom and hit his head 2 years ago. Or you go to the oracles again, but that is the point. If you are receptive to the oracles, then you ask the oracles who is right and what you are in the conflict about, right? And the oracles will tell you who is right, or the conflict might give you the counsel on how to master your emotions, because the emotionality of the situation will be more important than anything else. All right. Right. Yeah. So that's a great reason to have oracles in your life. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's all about your emotionalism, and this is what you're bringing to, your situations. You know what I mean? This is what you're bringing to your interpretations of oracle readings sometimes. So that's why it's good to have, an arbiter, right? A sage, counselor in between, what you're doing. Sometimes we can't see ourselves, so you need counsel, you know what I mean? Yeah, on that note, anybody who needs a reading, get my information in the description box there, and we can link up on some counsel. All right, so that is the end for this week, right? Next week we'll go into the hexagram number 7, the army. All right, so I hope that helped out, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, timestamps below. Yada, yada, yada. Peace and love. We'll do this again next week. Hopefully.